Napoleon? Any Napoleon Dynamite fans? Yeah, you know. Hey, same people, do you like Nacho Libre? Yeah. Yeah, you gotta have the same kind of sickness. All righty, Heidi. All right, let's start with, let's talk to God, okay? Father, thank you again for this incredible weekend. And God, we've just, my prayer right now is that everything that we have done has brought glory to your name, ultimately. God, we struggle with sin and with our own ways that we want stuff done. And yet you continue to show us mercy and grace upon grace. Thank you again for Camp Cumcito. Thank you for each person who served this weekend. Lord, we love you. May everything that we do this evening, the stuff that we talk about, may we just grow in you. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, open your eyes. Got to make sure you guys don't go to sleep. How many of you are tired? Yeah. Okay, for those of you that aren't tired, we have about 35 more acres to rake. All right, so now here we are. We're at session 3. This is our final session, but we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping. So what I want you guys to do, we've got some empty rows. I need, it's like some of you guys are in the back, maybe transition over to the middle section. I want some of you guys in the back to move forward a row or two. All right, so yeah, go ahead and do that. We can wait. You guys over here, you're all pretty good. So yeah, everybody, you guys back over here, Lance, you guys go ahead and move forward some. Maybe 4 amigos over on that side. I want you guys to move forward. There you go. Yeah, don't be ashamed. Nothing to be ashamed about. Look at Tavita. Tavita's like, I'm going right to the front. There you go. Thanks, guys. Audrey, you didn't move at all, did you? You moved 1 row. Audrey Latoya Hamilton. Can't take her anywhere. Okay, let's get into our final session here. You guys open up your books to session number 3. It says the how. How? Why should I serve that kind of people? Remember in our first session I was talking about how we want to serve like all the good-looking people? We want to serve the girls who are like, oh, I want to serve him. He's got the muscles. Have you ever looked into his eyes? He's got eyes that are like the sea. It makes me want to throw up. And then the guys are like, yo, baby, what's up? What's going on? Yeah. Look at my muscles. I work out 47 times a minute. So strong. Girl, I'm strong for you. I'm strong smelling for you, girl. I stopped wearing deodorant because I want to smell righteous. Or maybe just right. And so we get really excited about serving. You guys heard of the band Marilyn Manson? Yeah. It's like, yeah, I know. They're getting outdated now. Years ago, they were the bane of the Christian community. Like if you had a church kid that was listening to Marilyn Manson, I mean, the first thing your youth pastor could do was just like kick him out. Because, oh man, it was horrible. The band, they wrote this song called The Beautiful People. And the song was actually geared towards what they saw as far as how Christians tend to serve beautiful people. And they tend to care for those that look right. Man, it was a cutting song. I mean, it just stabbed you right in the heart. But unfortunately, a lot of it was true. The band Metallica on their Black album, there was a song called Follow the God That Failed. It was written because the frontman, James Hetfield, his mom was into Christian Science, which if you don't know, that's a full-on cult. I mean, of all the cults, they're like one of the kookiest ones. And James Hetfield's mom was into Christian Science or Scientology. It's one of those. I mean, they're both pretty wild. And she believed, you know, they don't go to the doctor or any of that stuff. And I think she got cancer. She ended up dying. And so to James, it was like God had failed. And so what you find, a consistent theme in a lot of music, is this drive of certain people are getting left out. POD, they wrote a song called Youth of a Nation. Actually, Easton was wanting me to like play it on a speaker or something for you guys. And in the song, Sonny's singing about the youth that are like just going crazy. They're shooting themselves and they're shooting up schools and they're just like throwing their lives away and they're doing all this horrible stuff. And is anybody going to do anything about it? That's kind of the vent of the song. There's got to be more to life than this. There's got to be more to everything I thought exists. And so one of the things that we tend to struggle with in the church is serving. Because we really want to serve the good-looking people. If you had some guy that comes in and he's got the prison tattoos. I got a lot of tattoos, but he comes in and he's got the 2 lightning bolts behind his ear, gang-related stuff. Maybe he has a swastika on his throat. And he comes into your church. Well, how does he get treated? Does he get treated the same as the nice family, the husband, the wife, and their 2.3 kids that come in and they drive in their nice little minivan and they're like holding their Bibles and they come walking into church? Do they get treated the same? No, they don't. The fact is they don't. And I'm not just saying this of New Life. I'm saying this is just general. There are certain people that we will not serve. And those are exactly the people that Jesus said we need to be serving them. That's what he was about. Christ came to serve the outcasts. So on your first note, you guys have probably already written that down. Do you realize that we're all outcasts when you consider what God looks at us? We all sin. Remember the first session I was talking about sin? I told you about the light bulb story. Right? We all sin. That's what we do. We're really good at it. If sinning could be a career, I would be a billionaire by now. And so because of that, we are outcasts when God looks at us. Habakkuk, the prophet, he wrote that God is so holy, he won't even look at sin. And if I'm full of sin, if I'm a multi-billionaire from my sin industry, then who do I think I am that I'm going to sit here and say, well, God, yeah, you need to be looking at me because, look, man, I dress up nice. I mean, look at this. I make this hoodie look good. And then I got the nice shoes. Man, God, I swear I shaved a few days ago, so it's growing back. So as soon as I get home, God, I'm going to shave again so I look nice and spiffy for you. And God, man, I make sure to use the right hair product, because I want to look good for you, God. And meanwhile, what does my heart look like? And I think that probably the bigger question is, what does your heart look like? You see, because we're outcasts. We're on the outside. I told you about kickball, right? And how if you're picked last, I know some of you don't know what that is, but some of you do know what it is. And when you're picked last, you're just going for it. You're like, I can kick the ball. I can kick it. Watch it. Okay, wait. See? I can kick hard. And I can run fast. Okay, I'm going to watch. And so we're trying to show people that we are not to be picked last. And then we still get picked last. And then we're hurt. And we're wounded. We're outcasts. When Jesus was serving, we know that you guys that have been to Camp Cumcito before, you know about the whole foot washing thing. It's interesting because the adults, we were talking about this earlier. And somebody overheard, yeah, we got to get our feet cleaned, and then we got to clean up this. And if that's your mindset, if that's your idea, if that's your mentality, you completely miss the whole mark. Like that's hamartia. That's the Greek word for sin. You have missed the mark. It's like you're drawing out the bow for archery, and the target's over here, and you just basically rotated and shot that direction. That's basically how far you missed the mark. If you came here this weekend, you're like, yeah, I got to get my feet washed, and so I made sure, and I went down and got my toenails done, and I made sure to get everything cleaned up because I want to look good. I want to make sure people people are impressed with my feet. Isn't that funny that we will go as far as to try to impress people with the appearance of our feet? And then we try to deny that we're not sinful. We try to say, no, I'm not that bad. We're so self-centered. We stink so much of ourselves that we worry about the appearance of our stinking feet. You gotta be kidding me. You see, it's not about you getting your feet washed. It's about you serving. This whole weekend has been about serving others. You know, so when we did communion last night, that all happened in a place called the upper room. Jesus is telling his disciples, he says, guys, we're gonna go up to this room, we're gonna have the Passover meal. I explained that to you a little bit last night, that the Passover was the celebration, the memorial of how God, the angel of death, had passed over God's people in Egypt. And now Jesus is saying he is the new Passover. He's the new blood of the Lamb. And so when he's there, he gathers his disciples together. Now, keep in mind, his disciples either went barefoot or they wore like an open-toed, kind of a sandal. So their feet were always exposed. In that day and age, they didn't have modern plumbing like we have now, where when you take care of business, you just hit that nice fancy chrome lever and shazam, it's all gone. It wasn't like that then. A lot of times there was a bucket, and that's what you did your business in, and then a lot of times that got thrown out into the street. And so if you're walking down the road and you're not really paying attention, you're like, you're stepping in stuff that's just not so good. And that was just part of life. That was just part of how you lived. If you ever are around livestock, like cattle or pigs or horses or anything like that, and you're mucking stalls, you know you're going to be stepping in poo. I mean, it's just part of it. And so a lot of times you're wearing muck boots or whatever because that's where it came from. You got to understand, though, the disciples have been tromping around through crap. Their feet are so disgusting. There's no such thing as a petty. There's none of that going on. Their feet smell bad. They look bad. They are so calloused and worn. Toenails doing who knows what kind of curly cues. And Jesus comes up to him. He takes a towel and he wraps it around his waist. He takes a basin of water. He fills it and he starts going around. Oh, Peter, these videos are kind of like, Peter's like, oh man, because poor Peter, the dude's just like always missing it. And I think my instinct is to say, oh, I'm glad I'm not like Peter, but the fact is I am. And Peter is like, well, Jesus, why don't you wash my hands too? Why don't you wash my whole body? I wash my hair, Jesus. Why don't you do that? Wash my beard. But Jesus is after the most disgusting part of them, which was their feet. Their feet had carried them as they followed him. And now here he is, and he's got this towel wrapped around him, and he's got this basin of water, and the King of all glory, you gotta understand this. The King of all glory is on his knees at their feet, and he's washing them. Their filthy, disgusting, nasty feet. He didn't offer to wash their hands. He's washing their feet. And here's another thing. He now has made them the big shot. He's the creator. You got to understand, when God created everything, Jesus was part of the creation of everything. And God didn't use his hands. Jesus didn't use his hands to make everything. We got these massive mountains by where we live. Most of the mountains are 13,000 and 14,000 feet above sea level. They just tower. God didn't use his hands and push them up. He spoke them into existence. That's how much power he has. He spoke all the universe into existence. That's how much power he has. And now here you have God, the God-man, on his knees washing his disciples' feet, treating them like they're kings. Is there a symbol that you think of when you think of Christianity? Anybody have an idea? The cross? You guys agree with that?
Yeah.
When we think of Christianity, we think of the cross, right? I got challenged with something a few years ago. There's actually two symbols of Christianity. The cross and the towel. There's two symbols of Christianity, the cross and the towel. Those were two things that Jesus used for us. He died on the cross. I explained that to you last night. I explained to you the gospel. And here tonight I'm kind of explaining to you the whole purpose of the towel, where he goes and he washes their disgusting feet. And he's saying, you know what, I'm willing to serve you. Peter, I know how you're going to turn your back on me. Judas, I know what you're going to do. You're going to sell me out for 30 pieces of silver. You're going to turn out to be the traitor. But still, I'm going to serve you. James and John, they were called the sons of thunder. Oh, you know what they wanted to do? They wanted to sit at Jesus' right hand and his left hand in the kingdom of heaven. They wanted to be number one. And Jesus knows this all about his disciples. And yet, there he is, on his knees. He knows everything about them. He knows everything about you. And he says, yet still, I want to wash your feet. Tim Keller, there's a quote there at the bottom of your page that says, love is primarily giving. It's an action that leads to a feeling, not a feeling first. Some of you are very confused about that. Some of you believe that love is about the feeling. It's about an action. Let's go to the next slide. Raft. This is part of the how. You're going to see the blanks up there on top. R, the bottom is T, to the left is A, and then F. I know you guys are going to go ahead and fill them in, so go ahead and write them in. Responsible, respectful, available, faithful, and teachable. These are characteristics of a servant. These are characteristics of a servant. There was a young man that was in this student ministry some years ago named Tanner. And Tanner came to Camp Cumcito at least once, maybe twice. I don't remember how many times. And he learned raft. Responsible, respectful, available, faithful, teachable. He left and he went into the army. Super excited about joining the service. Just really cool dude. I got a ton of respect for Tanner. You know, Tanner's one of those guys that holds his shoulders back whether he was in the army or not. He walks around with dignity. He treats people with respect. I love how he treats ladies with respect. Tanner was advancing rapidly in the army. And somebody actually asked him, like one of his commanding officers, like, man, Tanner, what is it with you? Like, everything that we tell you to do, you do. You don't question authority, you just go for it, man. I mean, you're like a model of, an army guy. What is it? And he said, well, years ago in youth ministry, we went to this place called Camp Cumcito and we learned this acronym, RAFT. And he said, I live by it. It's responsible, respectful, available, faithful, and teachable. He said, I found that when I live by that, I get along with other people. And life works. He took the idea of being a servant into the army. And the army, his commanding officers were like, we wish more people were like you. Here's what I have said. In times that I have had like supervisor jobs or whatever, and I had maybe an apprentice or you name it, if they would come along, if they showed raft, I would tell them, I'd say, hey, you want to make it far with me? You want to learn the trade that I know? Be responsible, respectful, available, faithful, and teachable. And I said, you're going to go far. But right now we're just talking about this in life. Responsible and respectful. Can somebody tell me what it means to be responsible? To be counted on? You guys agree with that? Be mature, okay? Responsible. What does responsible mean? Leo?
It also means to be in charge of.
In charge of, okay? To take responsibility for something? You will do it? Let's get back to those hard questions. Are you responsible? Are you responsible? That's hard. It's hard, especially when you're tired. Right now, some of you guys are dozing off. You're like, I'm responsible. I love chicken. I love responsible chickens. Okay? Yeah, responsible. You guys understand responsible. Reg pointed out the issue of your room and how it's not your room. I know some of you would want to argue that. You can ask my kids, when they want to argue that, I say, well, you can go ahead and pay the next house payment. Oh, it's your room, Daddy. Okay. Responsible. Are you being responsible with what has been given to you? You see, if you've been given a little, and you can be responsible with a little, then you can be trusted with more and be given more responsibility. Respectful. Oh, man. Maybe we ought to just cruise over this one. Maybe we ought to just ignore this one. Let me ask you guys a question. Can I be honest with you? Or would you rather be sugar-coated? Okay. Some of you are so disrespectful, it's nauseating. Truly. I was raised in like an old school home. I mean, my parents were a lot older than most of my friends' parents. My parents were born in the 30s. My mom grew up in a hard life in Colorado Springs. I was taught being respectful early on. If I was disrespectful to somebody, and my parents found out, mainly my dad, man, I got it. Later on in my life, when I was showing disrespect to those who were in authority over me, and like to law enforcement, oh man, I got it. I got it. And for some of you, I honestly have pity on you. Because for you to show the disrespect that you have, like some of the stuff that I've seen this weekend, I don't understand it. I really don't. And it bothers me. And I don't think it bothers some of you. I know some of you it does. Some of you are like, I can't believe they do that. But others, it's just like it's your life. And you do whatever you want. And I would say, I would understand if you'll say, yeah, I am not a follower of Jesus Christ. I have nothing to do with him. If that's the case, then I probably shouldn't expect anything else out of you. But if you're one of these individuals and you're saying, yeah, I love Jesus, I go to youth group, I go to church, I read my Bible, and then you're showing disrespect for other people, I mean, it's time that you change. Honestly. Showing respect to other people is showing an importance of the sanctity of life. If I show disrespect to Tavita here, I'm not honoring him. I'm dishonoring him. If I'm treating him like he's just something and I'm the one who's supposed to be number one, who do I think I am? Again, the target's over here, and I've taken that bow and arrow, and I shot it clear over here. You see, servants are going to show respect. Guys, you want to know something that's really cool to me is when guys will hold open doors for girls to show them honor, to show them respect. It's not about asking her out. It's not about giving her flowers. It's about treating her with respect and dignity because she's a young lady. It's old school, yeah. We live in a culture that's completely lost their minds on how to treat women. I don't care what Hollywood says. It's a simple fact. Jesus showed women respect. Guys, why don't you show respect for one another? I get like hanging out, like having fun and wrestling around. I get that. That goes on. But showing respect, Graham and I, we've been friends for a long time. We show respect for one another. We goof off. If you guys have seen this, we goof around a lot. But when we're texting, we're talking, we get serious about stuff. And we're showing respect and we're saying, hey, how can I be praying for you on this? Have you considered, Graham, have you considered what the scripture says? Or he'll do that for me. He'll say, Steve, what about this? Reg will do the same. He'll say, Steve, have you considered doing this? Do you realize the importance of this in life? Respect. It's an important thing. Responsible, respectful, available. Are you available to do stuff? Or are you just simply too busy? Have you noticed how we say that? We'll say like, oh, I'm just too busy. It's probably not that we're too busy. It's that it's just not a priority. Responsible, respectful, available, faithful. Are you faithful? Are you faithful in showing up time and time again? I first gave my life to Jesus in Colorado Springs. And I started volunteering at it's called the Youth House. And it was a place where a lot of gangbangers came in. And I learned early on that if you were there every Friday, that those gangbangers would start to respect you, because one thing they did not have in their life was a consistent male, adult male in their life. That's something they didn't have. So when I showed up every single week, and the other adult volunteers would show up every single week, then you'd realize that they would start respecting you. I was making myself available to them. Do you realize how many of the adults have made themselves available for you this weekend? They took time off of their jobs. They took time away from their families. They took time off of their sleep. They took time off of their homes, their pets, everything that they know to be normal, to hang out here with you, to be available for you. Why? Because they want to serve you. How have you responded to them? Let me ask each one of you something. Have you gone up to one of the adults this weekend and told them thank you? You don't have to go to every one of them. But have you gone up to one of them, looked him in the eye, and said, I just want to thank you for taking your time to come here to Camp Cumcito this weekend with us? Have you done that? Because they are making themselves available for you. They aren't doing it because they're getting a pat on the back. They aren't doing it because they're getting banked. They're doing it because they give a rip about you. Because they care for you. They care for your eternal destiny. They're making themselves available for you because they care for you. Responsible, respectful, available, faithful, and the last one is teachable. You want to know one of my biggest problems? I'm not teachable. I want to play like I know it all. I want to play like, yeah, Reg, you don't have to tell me that. I know that, man. I know that. I understand that. Foundations, Reg, no big deal. I got that. Strategy, no worries, man. I know what's going on. Because I'm a dude. And so I want to act like I got it all together. Last night I was talking with one of the guys here, and I was just having to be honest with him and just saying, I don't have it together. I'm a mess. I'm a mess. I'm a broken man. I need Jesus every single day of my life. Are you teachable? When an adult comes up to you and they say, or maybe even one of your peers, and they say, hey, maybe you ought to consider doing this. Do you say, oh, okay, yeah, and you're willing to give it a shot? Are you willing to listen to one of the adults when they say, you might not do that. You might consider this. Being teachable is hard because it hurts our pride. But you got to understand, from the biblical narrative, pride is one of the greatest things that will destroy us. Responsible, respectful, available, faithful, and teachable. You guys get those all written down there? Your notes? In other words, I will do my part and other people matter. Responsible. I will do my part. Respectful. Other people matter. Everybody say it with me. Other people matter. Yeah, other people matter. A, it's not about excuses. It's about priorities. When you say you don't have the time, the fact is you're saying that your stuff is more important than somebody else's stuff. Your time is more important than somebody else's time. Graham and I talked about this years ago. We used to say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't give you a call, I didn't have the time. And then finally we started getting honest with each other and say, it wasn't about we didn't have the time, it wasn't a priority. I'm not going to lie to him. F, people can count on me. I'm going to be faithful. I'm going to show up to Fuel and Journey. I'm going to be there when I'm expected to be there. I'm going to hang out afterwards. When everybody else is left because they're tired, I'm going to hang out and keep working. I'm going to keep doing what needs to be done until it's finished. And then T, I will humble myself and learn. Reg, if you go to the last slide there. One more. Go serve. Go serve. Guys, you now have the things that, the teaching to help you understand what it is to be a servant. To do what Christ has said, this is what I want you to do. And it's actually what he modeled for us. Flip over your page and it says at the top, what now? We're going to end up here, okay? We're almost done. I know you guys are tired. Keep hanging with me just a little bit more. What now? I don't know where you guys are at. Last night I shared the gospel and what it means that Christ died for us. To make us right with God the Father. Maybe you decided and you said, hey, I want to follow Jesus. I want to follow him with my life. Or maybe you've never really known what to do. What do? First of all, you start by spending daily private worship time with God. We've been giving you that opportunity in the mornings. You go over there to the cafeteria, you sit down, you read your Bible. That's your daily private worship. You just started a habit right there. It's up to you as to whether you're going to continue that. Okay? Number 2, read the Bible. You could start with the Gospel of Mark. Or you could start with My Time with God. You don't have a My Time with God? Maybe you don't have a Bible? Talk to Reg. Talk to one of the adult volunteers and say, I don't have a Bible. Can you please help me get one? They'll be more than happy to help you out there. Praying. You know, a lot of people don't know how to pray, if you can believe that. And maybe you don't. No big deal. There's an acronym that we use, ACTS. It stands for Adoration, Confession, Thanksgiving, and Supplication. Adoration is praising God. Most of the Psalms that you'll read, the big book in the middle of the Bible, most of those are prayers of adoration, praising God. C is confession of our sins. Remember who we are when we are before God. T is thanksgiving. Remember the grace and mercy that God showed to us. Grace and mercy. Mercy is God not giving you what you deserve. Grace is him giving you what you don't deserve. S is supplication, which means bring your request before God. Number 2 is get connected and contribute on Wednesday night Fuel and Journey. Show up to youth group. Show up on trips. Do this stuff. Be an active part of this. You're going to find that you're going to grow with each other and you're going to grow in your relationship with Christ. And then get plugged into a mentor group. It's super cool what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing with the mentor groups in this student ministry. It's a really cool thing. And then some of you I've shared with, be honest with what's going on. Share what your life is going on. Take those masks off. I would say a majority of you are wearing some kind of a mask in your life. Take that mask off and be honest with those who are around you. And then, of course, Fuel and Journey, that's where all the cool kids go, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Turn the page over. On there, you're going to see the gospel, important points and verses. There's not a slide for this. I want you guys to read through those and understand those. And here's why. Listen to me. If somebody asks you, hey, what's the gospel? Do you know what to tell them? Are you just going to rapidly quote up John 3:16 and think that's the gospel? Look through this. Don't look through it this weekend. You're too tired now. Take this home, study through that, and get an idea. If you got a question, talk with one of the adult volunteers. The next page is a student ministry overview. It'll give you a better idea of what Fuel and Journey is doing, what it's about, why it exists, why you guys do Camp Cumcito, back to school retreat, whatever's going on. Guys, I just want to share something with you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you this weekend. Thank you for listening to my crazy antics and talking about stupid stories and sticking my finger in light sockets and not getting picked for kickball. Yeah. Thanks for letting me rake leaves with you and hang out with you. Thank you for allowing that. You guys are incredible young people, and the potential that you have in your lives it's very far-reaching. You guys are an encouragement to me. You're an encouragement to many adults. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to have the worship team come up, and we're going to finish up with some songs. All right, if you guys will stand up. All right, can you get, yeah, there we go. something fast? Okay, you gotta get rowdy on this one.